2 nights ago, long after the market closed and the sun boiled out behind, Dubai's skyline, I caught myself staring at the same XRP chart that I've had pinned on my phone for months. Red candles had kind of tiptoed lower, teasing that fragile $2 line like cliff divers testing the waters. But here is the kicker. Every dip, it kind of felt eerily familiar, like déjà vu kind of wrapped in a shiny blockchain bow. And then it hit me. It looked just like Tesla's roller coaster from hell back in 2018, and that analogy kind of sent me spiraling into a 5-hour rabbit hole, armed with caffeine, chart overlays, and a playlist of 80s power ballads. Now today I'm going to be sharing what I saw, why it matters, and how it might be setting XRP up for a kind of plot twist that could make Tony Stark jealous. Now before we blast off, yes, I see you fast forward friends, hang on for one housekeeping line because it'll save us both headaches down the road. Now this, it might just shock you, but I am not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Phew, well, now we can kind of geek out, at least in peace. So picture this, December 8th, 2024. Ripple boss Brad Garlinghouse sits down with 60 Minutes. Now, the episode kind of airs, social media kind of goes ballistic, and XRP at a respectable $2.61. It kind of starts wobbling like a toddler on roller skates. By the very next day, it face planted to $1.96. You can cue the dramatic gasp. Meanwhile, of course, my group chat kind of lights up like a Christmas tree. Now, one buddy types, "That's it, XRP is doomed." Another kind of replies with nothing but a gif of Elon Musk shrugging. And that's when I remember 2018 Musk, 60 Minutes, and Tesla's stock doing the kind of limbo from $25 down to $11 before rocketing 3,400% over the next couple of years. Deja vu? Well, you can hold my root beer. Now, here is the kind of relatable problem then. Most of us can't help but stare at price dips and feel like we're the last passengers on the Titanic hunting for a kind of lifeboat. Dips kind of hurt, right? They kind of poke at our kind of lizard brains whispering, "Sell now or regret forever." And it's even harder when social feeds echo that fear in kind of, Dolby kind of surround sound. Now, but there's something that we need to understand here is that dips also create the stage for comeback stories, right? So let's think about Rocky Balboa, David after Goliath. Or that one time that you burned your kind of first pancake only to whip up a Michelin star stack 6 tiers later. So I decided to overlay XRP's post-interview trajectory with Tesla's 2018 fiasco. Geek level 9,000, I know, but hear me out. Ripple's token sank nearly 40% in roughly 4 months, bottoming out at around $1.61 on April 7th. Tesla, back then, well, it kind of bled to at least for around 6 months in total before hitting the mat. Then it took another 6 months to kind of dust itself off and sprint higher. Month 12, Tesla punched through previous highs like they were wet paper. Okay, so now it's some time for stats, because that's kind of what the crypto story, at least what is a crypto story, I should say, without a few numbers to kind of keep us all grounded. So if XRP simply mirrors Tesla's comeback math, a 30x move off $1.61 kind of spits out an eye-watering $48.30. Even a humble 10x will put it at around $16.10. So a kind of fresh all-time high. But And I suppose, we should also split the kind of middle, maybe in say 20x, which will be an eye-watering kind of, $32. Exactly the target that analyst Creddy Ball, actually keeps preaching like gospel, if you will. But what we should do really is zoom out, because price alone isn't the whole saga, right? You've got sentiment, you've got adoption, you've got legal clarity, and the holy kind of trinity, if you will, right here. So let's unpack each like kind of Russian nesting dolls. First up, we've got sentiment, right? Remember how everyone kind of mocked Tesla's production hell, right? Predicting bankruptcy before Model 3s ever rolled off the first line. Now, you fast forward, and well, now you can kind of swing a reusable grocery bag without hitting a Tesla, right? Or at least you can't, I should say. Hitting a Tesla on the road, right? Now, sentiment kind of flips faster than pancakes, when evidence kind of mounts. And XRP's evidence file is thicker than my grandma's lasagna. So Ripple's kind of partnerships with banks across Asia, well, they got that on check. Then there's the on-demand liquidity corridors humming quietly in the background. Double check. And every month, you have that kind of, but XRP is a security crowd getting quieter, especially after Judge Torres's hammered that topic in the dirt back in 2023. Next up, we have adoption, and Tesla had a secret weapon here. It was real products touching real roads, right? Now, XRP's kind of, I guess, is cross-border payments, right? Banks in Mexico, the Philippines, and now Africa are dabbling in RippleNet like teenagers, sampling hot sauce flights, if you will. MoneyGram's pilot is old news, right? We're already kind of seeing mid-tier remittance firms, using XRP as the grease that keeps fees low and transfers instant. Sure, it's not the kind of glitzy, or at least as glitzy as a kind of Cybertruck unveiling, but ask anyone who kind of wires money home each and every month, they'll tell you that speed and savings beat kind of stainless steel fashion statements every single day. Third up, we've got legal clarity. Now, Tesla's 2018 headaches were all about Elon's tweets and regulators breathing down the company's neck, right? Ripple's kind of vision here, or version of this, is that the SEC lawsuit saga. You can cue the dramatic courtroom music. If I were into editing, I would probably be playing something here. But unlike their thriller movies, real litigation grinds slower than, dial-up internet, for anyone who remembers. Now, the July 2023 ruling largely cleared secondary sales, reducing the extent of the potential dread. Now that's kind of like Tesla, learning that it could in fact sell cars without the government confiscating its factory keys. Now it doesn't remove every single cloud, but it at least lets some sunlight peek on through. So let's go ahead and dig into the climax moment, because every good story here, it needs one, right? Now for Tesla, the turning point was the Q3 2019 when the company shocked skeptics with a surprise profit. Now the stock ignited at that point, and if XRP is following that script, well, the inflection might actually be reclaiming $2.65. Now eGrag's so-called go-go signal, if you will. So imagine, our kind of chart blasting past $2.65 hypothetically, right? Shorts are going to scramble for cover, and mainstream media is going to be flipping their headlines from XRP, or at least is XRP dead, to how high can XRP fly? At least in my hypothetical world, that's what I'm envisioning. Now that kind of sparks, releases, FOMO butterflies, if you will, in every single retail investor's stomach. Now, suddenly we're actually strap ping in for the moonshot, if you will. And of course, speaking of moonshots, these hypothetical kind of moon math and all that, let me kind of address the elephant in the room, and that is patience. Now, patience is the broccoli of investing, right? Nobody craves it, but it sure does keep your portfolio a little bit more sane and healthy. So Tesla tested nerves for half a decade before kind of breaking $100. Bitcoin itself spent more time under $10,000 than actually above it. The XRP could spend months, ricocheting between $2 and $3, just taunting its doubters. But if the kind of Tesla mirror, holds, well, the pressure cooker eventually pops. And those, who couldn't stand the wait will, have to watch from the sidelines, facing, I should say actually faces plastered to the windows like kids outside a candy store. All hypothetical, but if it does do something similar, well, I think we're all going to be kind of having our shocked faces on. Now, here's a quick personal anecdote, right? Back in 2019, I bought Tesla at $15, split adjusted after kind of binge watching, various different things and tear downs of a Model 3. And, my friend Kevin called me reckless, said that I was catching a falling knife. 6 months later, he texted, "Dude, how did you know?" And the truth is, I didn't, right? I just bought a compelling story, sprinkled with progress and confirmed by data. Now, XRP's current setup feels eerily similar, minus the electric cars and plus a lot more tweets about SEC motions. Patterns, they don't necessarily create guarantees or guarantee outcomes, but what they sure do is rhyme like Dr. Seuss after too much coffee. But now we need to talk about risk, because nothing fuels a good story like a dash of peril. Now, XRP's consolidation could break downwards if macro conditions sour. So you got to think of interest rate spikes or another kind of black swan event, looking at you 2020, right? Legal appeals could drag on, and if, Ripple stumbles in partnerships, enthusiasm might fizzle. You got to remember, I guess Nikola Motors, Hyperloan, doesn't actually pay the bills. So that's kind of why position sizing, stop losses, and diversification aren't just buzzwords. Yet they are your seatbelt in this financial roller coaster. You want to make sure that you clip them on. And since we're friends just chatting here, on the kind of sidewalk, here's the part where I kind of plug our crew. Now, if you ever want to kind of dissect charts, share spicy memes, or just vent about candles doing the kind of cha-cha, well, you want to hop into our free educational Discord server. There's a link lounging around comfortably in the description. Now, we're kind of a judgment-free zone where, beginners and veterans can rub elbows together. You can swap trade ideas if you want to, and occasionally even argue whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Spoiler, I don't think it does. And while you're kind of scooping the description, you'll probably spot a link down to our affiliate links, such as Blofin, crypto exchange, right? Now, for full transparency, they are affiliate links that help us kind of keep the lights on the channel. So if you're kind of looking for a platform with slick featured tools and surprisingly chill UX, you're probably going to want to check out that Blofin. Now, if you do, of course, sign up through that link, you're tossing a few Satoshis our way at no extra cost to yourself. So I want to thank you in advance if you do that for supporting the content hamster wheel here. Okay. So deep breath. Let's recap the kind of breadcrumbs that we've kind of dropped on this trail. 1, XRP's recent pullback echoes Tesla's pre-moon jump analogy, or agony, depending on your perspective. Now, you got the second one here, which is the eGrag's timeline kind of puts us smack back in the middle, I guess, of the kind of patience pays zone. And then 3, we got legal clarity, expanding adoption, and slowly shifting sentiment are the kind of secret sauce marinating, beneath the price action. Now, could it still flop? Absolutely. Risk is a part of the bargain. Could it pull off a Tesla and 30x over the next year? Well, the math isn't just fantasy. It's historically precedent, repurposed. Whether we kind of see a modest 10x to $16 or a face-melting 30x to, the mid-40s, the catalyst will likely be a combination of legal milestones and utility-driven demand, not just hopium tweets. It's important to understand that it could also completely fall flat on its face and do none of it. Stepping back, what does all this mean for you then? Well, maybe nothing. Maybe it's a wake-up call to at least audit your conviction, right? Maybe to recheck your timelines and ask, whether you're investing or just purely speculating, right? For me, it's a reminder that markets are going to be very messy novels. They're not TikTok clips here, right? Plot twists rarely arrive on the kind of preferred schedule, but they often kind of favor the patient, the kind of prepared, and, well, hell, even the informed. So, friend, next time that you watch XRP flirt with $2.18 and feel like ice cold kind of pit in your stomach, you got to remember, Tesla limping at $11. Ask if the fundamentals have eroded or if the market's just catching its breath. Ask whether you're willing to stomach turbulence for a chance at blue sky cruising. And if the answer is yes, maybe scribble a note that says, "Don't panic, sell the dip," right? Tape it to your monitor and revisit it on those inevitable red days. As for the streetlights flickering on and the kind of desert air kind of finally cools, I'm going to top up my water bottle, cue another 80s anthem, and keep my eyes on that $2.65 marker because if history rhymes, the chorus is just around the corner.